Ferrero Rocher is built around a carefully layered combination of textures and flavors: a crisp wafer shell, a smooth hazelnut cream, a whole roasted hazelnut at the center, and a milk chocolate coating finished with tiny hazelnut pieces on the outside. That combination is what gives the chocolate its signature identity and makes it instantly recognizable around the world. But behind that elegant final appearance lies a highly controlled industrial process designed to produce millions of pieces with the same round shape, crisp texture, glossy finish, and consistent taste. The process begins with one of the most important ingredients in Ferrero Rocher hazelnuts. These are not just a minor component, they are central to the product's flavor, aroma, and texture. Ferrero is one of the world's largest hazelnut producers, with large-scale orchards located in countries such as Turkey, Italy, and Chile. During harvest season, the hazelnuts are collected using specialized machines built specifically for orchard work. Once the nuts are fully ripe, they fall naturally to the ground, and that is when the harvesting equipment begins operating. The machines use a suction-based collection system to gather the hazelnuts directly from the orchard floor. This method allows the harvest to be carried out thoroughly and efficiently, reducing the chance that ripe nuts will be left behind. As the hazelnuts are collected, they are funneled into an onboard bin where part of the loose soil, leaves, and small stones is removed. After that initial cleaning, the nuts are transferred onto large trucks and transported to a processing facility for the next stages. At the plant, the hazelnuts undergo additional cleaning to remove the outer husk and any remaining debris. Once this is completed, they move to the shell removal stage where the hard outer shell is separated from the edible nut inside. Only after the nuts have been properly cleaned and shelled can they move into one of the most important steps in the process: roasting. Roasting is the stage where the hazelnuts develop the aroma and crisp texture that are so important to Ferrero Rocher. This step transforms the raw nuts into the flavorful core that will eventually sit at the center of each chocolate. Ferrero roasts the hazelnuts in small batches so the heat can be controlled with precision. This careful control is necessary because every nut must receive the right amount of heat. Even a slight variation in roasting can affect flavor, aroma, and texture, which would make the final chocolates less consistent from piece to piece. After roasting, the hazelnuts are sorted again to remove any nuts that do not meet the required standards. At this point, not all of the nuts continue forward in whole form. Some are sent into a grinding system where they are broken into evenly sized pieces. These chopped hazelnut fragments are later used to create the signature outer nut coating on Ferrero Rocher. This grinding stage must also be carefully controlled. If the pieces are too fine, they turn into powder and lose the desired crunch. If they are too large, the surface may become too rough and uneven. The goal is to produce pieces that are small enough to adhere neatly to the chocolate coating, while still delivering a distinct, crunchy bite and a strong hazelnut aroma. Another major component of Ferrero Rocher is the smooth hazelnut chocolate filling, located between the whole hazelnut and the wafer shell. This filling is prepared through a precision-controlled cream production process in which texture, flow, and flavor must remain consistent from batch to batch. The first step is grinding and refining the roasted hazelnuts. The objective is not simply to reduce their size, but to process them until they become extremely fine so the final cream feels completely smooth on the palate without noticeable graininess. At the same time, ingredients such as sugar, cocoa powder, and vegetable oil are measured with exact dosing and blended into the ground hazelnuts. Mixing continues until the cream reaches the correct viscosity. It must be fluid enough to be pumped accurately into the wafer shell during assembly, yet stable enough to hold its shape after cooling. Once combined, the mixture moves through homogenizing and refining stages until it meets the required production specifications. When the filling is ready, it is stored in a heated, jacketed tank with closely controlled temperature conditions. This keeps the cream stable, prevents separation, and ensures it does not become excessively thick or too thin before it is used. In addition to the soft filling inside, Ferrero Rocher also requires a thicker chocolate coating for the outside. This outer layer gives the product its smooth, glossy shell and helps create the finished appearance associated with the brand. The process starts with large chocolate blocks, each weighing around 10 pounds. These blocks are loaded into a specialized melting kettle designed to heat the chocolate gently and evenly. The kettle uses a double boiler system. Water is heated to produce steam, and that heat circulates through a tubular jacket surrounding the kettle. This indirect heating method allows the chocolate to melt slowly without scorching or burning. As the blocks melt, the chocolate turns into a smooth, thick, flowing liquid suitable for coating. Inside the kettle, the system can hold as much as about 2.5 tons of melted chocolate, ready for the coating step later in production. If chocolate provides much of Ferrero Rocher's richness, then the wafer shell creates one of its most distinctive textural experiences. The crisp wafer is the first thing many people notice when they bite into the candy. Its production begins with a mixture of refined wheat flour, purified water, sugar, vegetable fat, and a small amount of salt to deepen the flavor. These ingredients may sound simple, but they are measured with great precision before being fed into a large industrial mixer. Inside the mixing system, the ingredients are blended until they form a smooth, uniform batter with a stable consistency. The mixture must be fluid enough to be pumped precisely, yet thick enough to produce wafer shells with the right structure after baking. On a large industrial line, this stage is repeated continuously to stay synchronized with the rest of production. Each day, the system can process around 10 tons of flour, while the line may consume up to 300 liters of oil. The batter mixing cycle itself is repeated roughly 200 times in continuous coordination with the factory's output. This shows how even a delicate confection like Ferrero Rocher depends on industrial-scale repetition carried out with very fine control. Once the batter reaches the correct consistency, it is pumped in measured ribbons into hemispherical metal molds. These molds give the wafer its familiar half-shell shape. From there, the filled molds move into a highly precise gas-fired baking system. In just a few minutes, carefully controlled heat transforms the thin batter into firm, crisp wafer halves. The baking stage is critical because it determines whether the wafers will have the proper texture and strength. If they are underbaked, they may not hold their shape properly or remain crisp. If they are overbaked, they could become too dark, too brittle, or lose the delicate character that makes Ferrero Rocher distinct. As the wafer halves leave the oven, they quickly set and become rigid enough to maintain their hemispherical form. They then travel along a conveyor toward the next station, where the assembly of the inner structure begins. At this point, each wafer half is carefully filled with the previously prepared hazelnut chocolate cream. This layer is essential because it creates the soft, smooth, rich interior that contrasts with the crispness of the wafer and the crunch of the nut. The amount of filling must be accurately controlled so that every piece has the same internal balance of textures and flavors. Immediately after the filling is deposited, a high-precision automatic dosing system places one whole roasted hazelnut into the exact center of selected wafer halves. This has to be done with great accuracy so that the nut sits properly within the filling and remains centered in the final product. However, not every wafer half receives a hazelnut. The halves are arranged in an alternating pattern so that when two halves are later joined together, each finished sphere contains exactly one whole hazelnut at its center. This method ensures consistency while also making the assembly process more efficient. Once the cream and hazelnut have been added, pairs of filled wafer halves move into the joining stage. Here, the two halves are aligned with extremely high precision. A centering device ensures that there is no edge misalignment, overlap, or uneven seam as the halves come together. At the same time, the wafers are gently pressed together so the filling helps bond the two hollow shells into a single sphere. This stage is important not only for appearance, but also for structural integrity. If the two halves do not align correctly, the final chocolate may look imperfect, and the coating process could become less uniform. Before the assembled pieces continue further, they are cooled. Cooling stabilizes the internal structure, helping the cream firm up slightly and allowing the joined wafer halves to hold together more securely. Once cooled, the assembled wafer clusters are carried by conveyor to a stamping machine. At this station, each piece is individually positioned and aligned so it can be shaped and trimmed with great precision. The stamping system uses punches that drop through a die to cut and shape the assembled wafer piece cleanly. This process trims the edges and ensures the sphere is centered and concentric. The result is a set of neatly formed wafer balls in which the two hemispheres fit together smoothly and consistently. Any extra material around the seam is removed, improving both appearance and uniformity. After stamping the spheres, move forward on a transfer system that helps remove loose wafer dust, preparing them for the next major phase, the outer chocolate coating. Once the wafer centers are complete, they move into the stage where Ferrero Rocher receives its distinctive chocolate shell. The filled spheres continue along the line and are coated in warm, melted chocolate. This step must be controlled very carefully, especially in terms of temperature. The chocolate needs to be fluid enough to spread evenly over the surface, but stable enough to form a smooth, glossy finish once it sets. Just as importantly, the coating process must not damage the crisp wafer structure underneath. Too much heat or mechanical force could compromise the delicate shell. Right after the chocolate coating is applied, the spheres pass through a curtain or shower of roasted hazelnut pieces that have already been chopped to size. Because the chocolate is still warm and tacky at this moment, the nut pieces adhere to the surface. This creates Ferrero Rocher's signature textured exterior, which adds another layer of crunch and a stronger hazelnut presence in the very first bite. The number of nut pieces that stick to each piece is carefully controlled. The coating must provide a satisfying texture without overwhelming the smoothness of the chocolate or distorting the candy's round shape. After the hazelnut pieces are added, the chocolates undergo a gentle vibrating motion. This helps shake off excess chocolate and any loose nut fragments while also evening out the surface. The goal is to achieve a consistent appearance across all pieces. Although Ferrero Rocher is marketed as a premium chocolate, that premium look is only possible because the production line carefully standardizes every detail from internal alignment to the amount of chopped hazelnut on the outside. Next, the coated chocolates enter a cooling tunnel. In this stage, the outer layer gradually sets and hardens. Controlled cooling is essential because it seals the center, protects the wafer's crispness, and locks in the freshness of the ingredients. If the cooling were too fast or too uneven, it could affect the finish of the chocolate or create defects in texture. By allowing the coating to harden under controlled conditions, the factory ensures that each piece leaves the line with the correct glossy surface and stable structure. By the end of the cooling stage, the Ferrero Rocher pieces have fully developed their layered identity, a whole roasted hazelnut at the center, surrounded by smooth cream, enclosed in a crisp wafer shell, then covered in milk chocolate and coated with chopped hazelnuts. At this point, the chocolate is structurally complete and visually recognizable. What remains are the final presentation and protective packaging steps that transform it from a finished confection into a premium retail product ready for sale around the world. After the chocolates leave the cooling tunnel, they move into one of the most recognizable stages in the entire Ferrero Rocher process, wrapping. At this point, the pieces are already fully formed, coated, and structurally complete, but they still need the distinctive presentation that has become inseparable from the brand. Each chocolate is transferred to the wrapping station, where a thin sheet of signature gold foil is applied around the surface and fitted closely to the spherical shape. This wrapping step does more than create an elegant premium appearance. It also helps protect the chocolate coating during transport storage and handling, reducing the risk of surface damage before the product reaches consumers. Immediately after the foil is applied, the wrapped chocolates are paired with the small crown-shaped paper cups that serve as the base for each Ferrero Rocher. These cups are automatically fed into position and aligned so that every chocolate can be placed neatly and securely into its holder. This detail may seem minor, but it plays an important role in both presentation and stability. The paper cup keeps the wrapped chocolate centered in the package, helps maintain a polished appearance, and reinforces the impression that the candy is meant to be enjoyed as a premium product rather than an ordinary mass-market sweet. From there, the chocolates move into the final boxing stage. The wrapped pieces are arranged carefully into the familiar transparent plastic boxes that allow consumers to see the gold foil and textured shape inside. This packaging design is not only practical but also highly strategic. The clear box displays the product, directly emphasizing its decorative finish and gift-like appeal. It turns the chocolates into something that feels suitable not only for personal enjoyment, but also for sharing, celebration, and presentation. Once boxed, the product is complete and ready to be distributed to retail markets around the world. What makes this entire process especially impressive is the degree of consistency it achieves. Ferrero Rocher is not simply a chocolate with multiple layers. It is a product that depends on the accurate coordination of many separate systems. The hazelnuts must be harvested, cleaned, shelled, roasted, and sorted with care. Some must remain whole for the center, while others must be chopped to just the right size for the outer coating. The cream filling must be refined until completely smooth, then held at a stable temperature so it can be dosed accurately. The wafer batter must be mixed repeatedly with the same viscosity, baked into precise hemispheres, filled uniformly and joined without misalignment. After that, the coating, nut application, cooling, wrapping, and packaging all have to happen in a synchronized flow. Each stage affects the final eating experience. The whole roasted hazelnut provides the solid, crunchy center. The cream adds softness and richness. The wafer shell delivers the crisp, delicate break that distinguishes Ferrero Rocher from a solid chocolate truffle. The outer chocolate layer adds sweetness and structure, while the chopped hazelnut pieces create the final burst of crunch and aroma on the surface. The production process is therefore not only about manufacturing efficiency, it is also about protecting the carefully designed balance of textures that defines the candy. Another key reason the process is so tightly controlled is that Ferrero Rocher has to maintain the same identity across enormous production volumes. Consumers expect each piece to look and taste familiar no matter where they buy it. That means industrial production cannot sacrifice precision simply because output is large. Small changes in roasting could alter the hazelnut flavor. Slight variation in cream consistency could affect filling accuracy. Inconsistent wafer baking could change the crispness. Uneven chocolate temperature might affect coating thickness or gloss. Too many or too few hazelnut fragments on the outside could alter both appearance and texture. The system works because each of those variables is managed in a way that keeps the product highly standardized. The use of specialized equipment also shows how modern confectionery manufacturing combines craftsmanship with automation. On one hand, Ferrero Rocher is marketed as an elegant and indulgent chocolate, something refined and carefully made. On the other hand, reaching millions of consumers requires industrial machinery capable of repeating delicate actions with extraordinary reliability. Machines must place single hazelnuts in exact positions, align wafer halves without visible offset trim spheres, concentrically coat them evenly, and wrap them cleanly in foil. This is precision manufacturing applied to food, where appearance, texture, and flavor all matter at once. The wafer itself deserves special attention because it is one of the hardest elements to preserve during production. A crisp wafer can easily be crushed, softened by moisture, or damaged by excessive heat. Yet in Ferrero Rocher, it must survive filling, assembly, trimming, coating, cooling, wrapping, and transport while still remaining light and crisp when eaten. That is one reason the sequence of steps matters so much. Cooling before trimming helps stabilize the joint halves. Controlled chocolate coating protects the wafer without harming it. The final setting process then locks the structure in place. This careful handling is essential to maintaining the contrast between the crisp wafer and the creamy filling. Presentation is also central to the product's identity. Ferrero Rocher is designed not just to taste luxurious, but to look luxurious before it is even opened. The gold foil, the brown paper cup, and the transparent box all contribute to that impression. These elements communicate premium quality visually long before the consumer experiences the chocolate itself. In other words, the factory is not only manufacturing candy, it is manufacturing a complete sensory and emotional presentation built around giftability, elegance, and indulgence. At the same time, the process shows how a relatively small confection can require a surprisingly complex chain of preparation. What seems like a single bite-sized chocolate is actually composed of multiple engineered layers, each created through its own production method and then integrated into a final form. Hazelnut agriculture, nut processing cream, refining chocolate, melting wafer, baking, high-precision assembly, coating control, cooling, foil wrapping, and retail packaging all come together in one continuous system. The final candy may look simple in the hand, but the process behind it is anything but simple. In the end, Ferrero Rocher stands out because it combines industrial efficiency with a product architecture designed to feel refined and luxurious. It is a chocolate built on contrast, crisp and creamy, smooth and crunchy, delicate and structured. The factory process ensures that these contrasts are recreated again and again with remarkable consistency. From the orchard floor where ripe hazelnuts are collected to the final clear plastic box ready for store shelves, every stage is aimed at transforming basic ingredients into a polished confection recognized all over the world. That is how Ferrero Rocher is made at scale, through careful control, layered construction, and a production system precise enough to make millions of chocolates feel as though each one was crafted with individual attention.